Right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another session of In Conversation brought to you by HireMe Africa. I'm your host, Lorraine Penduka, the co-founder of HireMe Africa. As you know, we are a Pan-African platform that helps in bringing digital skills to the youth in Africa. We also provide a work readiness program that helps equip youth to be able to navigate the working world, the changes that are coming into play. And today's episode is quite exciting. As you know, we will be launching our work readiness program in Zimbabwe. So we are looking at giving you free masterclasses, and we'll talk about that a bit later on. But today, our guest is here to tell us about the Zimbabwean workforce, the talent that is there, what to expect in the job market in Zimbabwe. So they're going to give us a very high level overview of what is going on in the ground in terms of the workforce, the skills that are going to be needed in the future, and how can the youth of Zimbabwe actually prepare for this. And he comes with a deep leadership role. My guest today is Dr. Moses Chundu, who is the Executive Director and Team Leader at the Africa Leadership and Management Academy. He's got a wealth of experience working as a former economic advisor to the Prime Minister of Zimbabwe during the government of national unity. And currently, he is the executive director at ALMA. So our conversation will really be around leadership, about the workforce in Zimbabwe, the opportunities that are there. So it's going to be an exciting engagement that we're going to have this afternoon as we delve into what to expect in Zimbabwe as we introduce this program and also introduce ALMA. So Dr. Chundu, welcome, and thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, Lorraine. Good afternoon and welcome to everyone to this platform. Looking forward to exciting conversations.
Right, let's delve right into it. Dr. Chundu, maybe you can start off by telling us, or the audience as well, about the African Leadership Academy and what role it plays in Zimbabwe's education ecosystem.
Thank you, Lorraine. Yes, so as the name has it, we are about leadership. We thrive in developing what we call leaders of integrity. That's our mission, modeled around the person of Christ. Actually, we are a faith-based organization. We believe that the heart of a leader matters as much as the hands and the mind of a leader does. So we've got a number of programs that we offer, academic, but that are fused with what we call biblical integration. So we offer an MBA in leadership and management and a master's in governance and leadership. The MBA is like any other that you'll find anywhere in the world. It will meet the international scrutiny, but we go a little step further and introduce the dimensions that begin to speak to the heart in terms of the head, heart, and hands model. So we go an extra mile to speak to the heart of a leader, as we believe integrity at the end matters. But we also help with governments and private and quasi-private organizations in addressing their leadership needs. And in this, we offer short courses, which are also bespoke. One of our flagships currently is a stewardship program where we speak to the 4 P's of stewardship in every leadership. Whether you are government, non-governmental, or community-based, a leader needs to be able to master how to steward the power that is given to him, the authority, he needs, before even do that, to be able to steward his own personality, which is where the issues of integrity come in, and of course, to be able to steward the people under his authority, and then the environment around him, which is the planet. We call it the planet. So we tailor-make our curricula to suit the demands of our clients, but it's all coming down to developing leaders of integrity. Back to you, Bara.
Okay, that's quite a lot of that is offered at the academy. And as you know, the challenges in Africa is really on leadership, having those leaders who are leaders of integrity, who are leaders that we can depend on, who have the concerns of the people as their priority, and having such programs that are actually faith-based as well, give us the opportunity to now raise a new generation of leaders that actually serve the people, as opposed to want to be there to gain for themselves and the people around them. Now to move on, you served as an economic advisor during the Government of National Unity, and that was between 2009 and 2014. And the labor landscape in Zimbabwe has changed tremendously during that time. What do you think still remains as relevant for young people in today's labor market in Zimbabwe?
Thank you, Lorraine. Yeah, indeed, I had my season of service. Practicing what we are teaching now as stewardship is something that I have lived. At the time, I was running a World Bank project in South Africa, which was very, very lucrative. But I had to answer to the call to national service to serve during that season where everyone was focused on rebuilding the economy of Zimbabwe after 2008. Coming in as a young professional, trained economist, but the demands of the office needed more than my trainings in economics. Unfortunately, for most of us, these are skills that actually one has to consciously, intentionally develop after you have graduated. Your soft skills, talk about those a little later, but it's the things that were never taught in school that I needed to be able to function as a young professional in an environment where you are having to deal with senior government officials, multilateral officials, and they are holding a position of authority. So I took my position not as anything else to be proud of, but as an opportunity to serve. And while in there, it became very clear where the world was going to. At the time, it probably was not easy to see if you didn't have the lenses that would see far. But what was beginning to happen in our economy was the days of the big firms was kind of coming to an end. The big corporates, the mega corporates that would employ people in thousands, were slowly shutting down. And another economy was emerging, which has now become the dominant economy. And we call them SMEs, micro, small, and medium enterprises. I became curious while I was serving and doing my job in terms of advising the direction of the economy, whose results I think are there for anyone to see. It became very clear that the future is small businesses, but we were not quite ready for that. And that actually inspired my PhD. So I took time in 2014 to embark on my PhD journey to try and understand the growth dynamics of the SME sector, as it was becoming clear that's the future. I think at the time, we were busy in the universities preparing our candidates for the big corporates, where it's structured, you go in there, you are mentored, you become relevant. Lo and behold, those were shutting down. So they were relevant then, but it has become more relevant now, I would say. Lauren, at the time, the percentage of the economy that was small to medium and also informal was very small relative to what it has become now. And everyone has opened their eyes. We've now seen that the future is small, the future is digital. At the time, again, digitalization was coming in. No one had ever dreamt of AI at the time. But it became very clear that your digital literacy would actually determine how useful the skills in your hands were. These are trends that I picked in 2010, 2012, but also with my travels at the time, you realize Africa was always kind of lagging thanks to digitization, the internet, AI and all that. Now, the speed of catching up has really gone up. But at the time, the world had moved and we're still trapped in manual things, trying to do paper and pen. So we were saying then the future is digital, but I'm here to say the present is digital. Back to you.
Right. And you brought us some really valid points of the observations that I've seen, in the Zimbabwean landscape. Like you said, when we came out of school, the way that we were trained was you're going to go work for a company or a big company or get into government. But even in that being prepared, it was all about the academics, the soft skills were missed out. No one taught us how to communicate. No one taught us how to be able to handle certain roles, the emotional intelligence that was required in the workplace, to not only just look at things as what you learned in theory, but now the practical application of not only the hard skills you learn, but the soft skills. How do you talk to senior people? How do you motivate your team members? How do you deliver the reports effectively, your presentation skills? But now when we come back to your role as a lecturer once at the University of Zimbabwe, now, what are some of the biggest skill gaps that you have seen between what students are actually learning and what you've experienced in the job markets from a personal perspective, and also from your observation from the actual students at ALMA when they are there as students and when they are actually placed in the workplace? What is the gap that is there?
Thank you, Lauren. A huge gap it is. And for me, it's said my understanding of it is informed by both worlds. I started my career as an academic. 4 or 5 years, we opened MSU in Gweru, and then I left and get into industry. I was in banking, in finance, local, regional, international. I went into manufacturing. And also, by the time I was done with all that, including government and NGOs, then I went back into the classroom. I'm in the classroom with an understanding of what the employer needs, not theorizing what they need. Unfortunately, this is the reality then of our universities. Most of our staffers are career academics. These are people who are very bright, first-class students. They went straight for their masters, or they were so good. After their masters, they went straight for their PhDs, and they just became professors there. Everything that we teach is from the book. There are a few faculties that have then found ways of integrating industry practitioners to come and visiting lecturers. But your core teacher at the university is someone who has never been to industry. So we give these kids good theoretical grounding, but which is not giving them the professional competencies that are required by the modern employer. Universities tried to respond to that and introduced what we have called work-related learning or attachments, internships, which usually happens for a 4-year degree. They usually take that on their 3rd year. The whole idea was then to say, how can they get a feel of what competencies are needed in industry, get to be mentored over that year before we can refine them and release them into the market. A good initiative it is. But while we were doing that, remember earlier on I said the economy was structurally changing. The structural adjustment in the economy itself meant that we did not have enough absorptive capacity to take the growing number of graduates to be mentored in a live environment, which is relevant. So as we go and supervise our students on attachment, we realize probably more than 80% are attached in environments that have nothing to do with their professions. They are doing it just to fulfill the minimum requirements for graduating, which then defeats the whole idea of work-related learning, which is supposed to be exposing the student to experiment with the core skills that they've picked during the first 2 years, and then be able to wrap that up in 4th year and come back as someone who is more or less closer to what industry needs. This has been our predicament. We also kind of killed the technical side of education. I'm telling you, I started my career at MSU. We turned Gweru Teachers Technical College into a university. And it was happening across the country. Most technical colleges were converted to universities because it was trending. It was the thing. Instead of offering certificates and diplomas, we now want to offer degrees. At the same time, we're having a massive exodus of our trained artisans during our years. I think there was what was called apprenticeship, which was basically on-the-job training right from the onset. Most of those trained in the 80s and 90s emigrated to the UK, South Africa, and Australia largely. Pretty much the rest of the world, but these are the 3 major centers hosting our technicians. We moved and realized suddenly we didn't have enough cohort of trained technicians with practical skills, while we kept churning thousands and thousands of first class and second class holders who were not prepared for the world of work. I'm glad you mentioned the word work readiness. These digital skills, the digital literacy I was talking about, professional communication, general workplace behavior, workplace etiquette, these things are not in our core curricula at the university. And yet at the end of the 4th year, this person has a first class, we release them into the market. The industry is saying, this is not what I was expecting from you. So it's a huge mismatch. I know there are discussions happening between university authorities and the industry, but I feel we have not done enough to kind of respond to the real needs of not a static industry, but an industry that is actually evolving, which is also the other thing. The rate at which things are moving. A few years ago, AI was not here. Boom, it comes and it changes everything before the graduate we enrolled has even finished. So this is our dilemma. The graduate we are preparing is for a career of today, which today is very dynamic, and by the time they are ready to go out there, they are irrelevant. So it's huge, and my heart bleeds because I relate from both ends, the producer and the demanding side as industry.
Right, that's something that I can tell you it's Africa-wide in terms of that the gap that we are getting from what the students are learning and what is required in the workplace. And when I think of the context of Zimbabwe, when you told us that the landscape now moved from having major corporates and big companies there, and now you have SMEs. And when you think of SMEs, are they absorbing this young talent that is coming in? Do they have the capacity now to do those attachments and actually have them as programs that you can measure the output, you can measure the transferable skills, the practical application of what these students learn and what they are supposed to, or how they are supposed to perform in those environments. Now we get attachments and internships where companies don't even know what to do with the students when they come in. They send them to do filing. They send them to do small administrative works. Like you said, it's got nothing related to what their studies. So how then do we build a workforce that knows the technical abilities that they need to have in order to thrive in that work, in that profession. So it's work that really needs to be done, where there needs to be intentionality that is coming in from the universities, intentionality that is coming in even from the industry, the companies that are there, that we are approaching, that we are speaking to, that we're actually preparing these graduates for them to say, they don't only know the theory of things, but they know the practical side of what needs to be done in the workplace. And it's an ongoing conversation. It's a gap that we are trying to close. And that's why, as organizations such as HireMe Africa, we are there to try and bridge this gap, because we put interns into these workplaces and they don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle themselves. They have the skills in terms of what they've learned, but now the application of the skills, there was a huge gap. And when I think of Zimbabwe now, to say the SMEs that are thriving, the solopreneurs that are there, there are also skills that they need to learn, the digital skills that are required. And if we're saying maybe the economy cannot hold these graduates that are coming out, I remember there was one article I read where there were 6,000 graduates coming from the Midland State University.
Yeah,
and I was thinking, where are they going to be placed in this economy? Are they going to get jobs? Which brings me to the next question, to say, are we producing graduates that are in the wrong discipline? Is that the core problem that is there? Is it a lack of available jobs that is there? How can we produce graduates who can be absorbed into the job market that is speaking to the needs of what's happening in the Zimbabwe economy right now, and the trajectory that they want Zimbabwe to go into? If I look at sectors like mining, if I look at the digital skills and tech that is coming up, there's a lot that is happening in Zimbabwe. Are we producing the right graduates for it?
That's a difficult one. I know we're talking about 6,000 graduates, so the standard speech of sending them off is to tell them, go and create your own jobs. I don't know how they do that. Out of 6,000, for you to create 6,000 entrepreneurs, that's just not possible.
Yeah.
People need jobs, period. Not everyone is wired to be an employee.
Yeah.
But what I've observed, the SMEs ask the question, are they ready? This is coming from my studies over the years, and now I'm a very keen researcher in that area. So you see, the SME that is coming out, at least here in Zimbabwe, I can speak for Zimbabwe. These are men and women who didn't quite consciously decide to get into business. It started as redundant. The big corporate folded. It's artisans who were either too old or too risk averse to cross the borders stayed. I'm sitting on an Adam bid table. Everyone knows about Adam bid. Your furniture as an executive was not furniture if it was not Adam bid. It closed its shop. All the artisans are still there, but they are now without employment. So they go to Glenview, Achipisa, they form one or two, they start doing their own stuff. But as they do that, they were not prepared for it. All he knows is joinery. That's all he did in school. That's all he was doing at Adam Bid. And then suddenly, he must know HR, he must know legal, he must know procurement. No one taught him this, but he has to survive. It's like someone fighting for his life in the waters. So lo and behold, they make a table. It's not quite Adam Bid. You can see traits of Adam Bid, because he ended up buying his materials from Mbare, which are not treated. So on the surface of it, you think it's Adam Bid. After a month, you realize it was not. And then we are sending this student there. who does marketing, what mentorship is he going to get from someone who finds himself having a furniture outfit out of necessity? He himself has not been developed. So their failure to grow, and this is what I'm finding, their failure to grow and become sustainable businesses, they don't have to grow to become big corporates, but they want to be viable, middle, we call them the missing middle. All of them are tucked in these small one-man outfits or two employees, and then there's nothing in the middle to the large component of the SME. They can't graduate in there. If they get in there, they are able to absorb our students. But they can't get there because they are also not capacitated, because they found themselves in this space. So it's a huge challenge, actually. I've been trying to engage with the relevant authorities and government. What can we do now that we all agree this is the new economy and it's not going anywhere? What can we do to capacitate this so that they become sustainable employers? If it's employing 5 people, let it be a proper employer. I mean, you go to Israel, the economy is built on SMEs. Germany, it's SMEs. But they are very professional and they are well structured. So this is a challenge on the receiving end. But on the student, I've often said to my students, when we were growing up and during our years at college, we're told 90% of what I'm professor. So first, I trouble with assignments. My professor would say, this is foundational. I'm preparing you for the world out there to be able to engage well. I've said to my students, I eventually understood it when I got into the world of work. Not all these theories are going to work directly in the world of work, but what it is doing is to create a foundation. So university education is foundational. If we try it to be what it is not, it's a source of frustration for everyone involved. Let's create a good foundation. It's like an athlete who's going to be competing at the world competitions. They spend a lot of their times in the gymnasium, training their muscles, make sure they're in good shape. When you look at him in the gym, you'd think what he's doing is irrelevant. It may not be directly related to the 100-meter sprint that he's gonna do, but all that's happening is preparing the foundation for that race. And I would say this is what universities are about, especially other disciplines like your social sciences. If you go to the natural sciences, your medicine, the ratio might come from 90% maybe to 40 or 50. But bottom line, it remains foundational, which means the student has a duty to self-develop. In this world, because of digitization, there's a lot that one can do to upgrade self. You join webinars like this. This was not there in our time 20 years ago. You can get stuff that helps you prepare those soft skills that we talked about, which inherently are not part of the university. It builds relevant foundations, and on the base of that foundation, you can build your career the way one would want to. As long as the foundation is strong, you can build any structure. You can decorate it to your own finishings. For us in economics, we are grounded as general practitioners. You can become anything out there. So it's a multidisciplinary challenge where the universities, the student, the university ecosystem itself, being the academics and the student, government as policymakers, and industry, which is now dominated by the small players, all need to wake up to the new reality of the new world of work and adjust and make the necessary changes that we need to change, and do that very fast.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Chundu. You know, as you were speaking, and I think of the dynamics of Zimbabwe, where we've had such a brain drain of people leaving Zimbabwe. And now post-COVID, where the world was opened up to us with remote work, where now there's an opportunity that exists for the youth to now compete in the global job market and not just wait for jobs to be created in the Zimbabwe market. Yes, you can go to university in Zimbabwe, you can live and stay in Zimbabwe, but now there's a whole opportunity where you can work for a company in the Americas, you can work for a company in the Emirates. Now the opportunity is there where they are looking for solely remote workers. And Zimbabweans are known for their hard work. Zimbabweans are known for their agility, their ability, to fit into a lot of these places. And now you say that these graduates who are coming out of universities or coming out of school have now an opportunity to upskill themselves. And it's their responsibility as well. If you've got the foundation of the academics and now the skills development, the onus is on you to grow and to develop yourself. Now you can even develop yourself to the point of now competing on the global job market. You can now post your CV on sites like LinkedIn. There are so many freelancer websites that are there. And so now it's opened it up to a lot of opportunities for Zimbabweans that it's only a few number that I've heard of that are actually working for companies overseas. And there's a lot of potential that Zimbabweans can actually tap into that global market. And as you know, now we've got SMEs as well. How do we work together as the public sector, as the private sector, as the institutions now to come up with policies and come up with programs that actually equip Zimbabweans to be able to work in the global market, but they stay in Zimbabwe. The remittances are coming to Zimbabwe. It helps with the Zimbabwe economy and them earning more in the global market where in Zimbabwe they may earn 500, but for the same role globally, an international company can pay them $2,000 for that same, job and role. How can we then prepare the Zimbabwean youth for such opportunities? Which will bring me to the next question. If you could redesign how we are handling the talent ecosystem in Zimbabwe, how would you redesign it so that we have well-groomed, well-governed talent that is talent of integrity? How would you design that ecosystem?
That's a difficult one. And I'm glad you call it an ecosystem. And it's a very complex one for that matter. Multiple players that are not coordinated in an environment where the variables are constantly shifting. While you are preparing for this, the next thing you have to deal with something else completely different. The gig economy, the platform economy was not here a few years back. But my encouragement, especially to the authorities, I know the Minister of Finance recently made some changes to the policies, focusing on how best to tap into the taxes for that group, because they're realizing it's becoming a huge market. But I would say before we try to milk them, I mean, like any farmer would understand, before you can milk your cow, you got to feed it. It is very unfair that someone has fed a cow, you just come and milk it. I think on a matter of integrity and ethics, it doesn't fly away. So if we are seeing this emerging economy, the gig economy, as the economy of the future, that is defying boundaries and visas, we must position ourselves as Zimbabweans to tap into it. They have estimated it's in trillions. It's the future. Before this, we're talking about the service industry as the industry. Now it's the gig economy. There are a few things that, from a policy-making perspective, needs to be attended to. What are the tools that enable our youth to participate on this lucrative market? I'm assuming here we've got a youth who is jacked up, who is intentionally engaging in that. What platforms can be created that can make it easier for them to participate? So first you look at the infrastructure issues. For you to participate in the digital economy, by extension, you need good connectivity.
Mm-hmm.
Good connectivity needs you to have the hardware. For me to be able to connect with you, I'm home right now. I've got my Mac and I'm connected to Starlink. I'm a poor professor, so I had to subscribe for the cheapest version of it. But it worked, makes me function. Occasionally, you may pick some checks because that's what it is. It's the lower end on the Starlink. I pay $30 per month. It sounds not much, but for someone who is unemployed, who has never worked anywhere and has never made any savings, it can be a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about inclusivity, the youth who is even in a smaller town, the youth who are even in the village. Remember, I've got kids who come here. The only reason they came to Harare is university.
Yeah.
When they finish, they have nowhere to stay. They have to go back to Gumbonjanda there. Now, it's already cut out.
Yeah.
All these things are happening. He's holding on his transcript with the first class. He's not connected to the world because he's in the village and villages are not connected. So getting internet to everywhere is no longer just an issue of charity or trying to, it's not a social issue anymore. Let me put it that way. It's an economic imperative. It's about inclusion. It's about participation. So can we have infrastructure that guarantees connectivity everywhere? These are things that we should be prioritizing. When you call the 6,000, go and create your own jobs. They should be connected. The easiest way to create their own jobs is to be on the gig economy. So what is government doing to establish the networks that allow for easy connectivity and reliable connectivity everywhere? And then the economics of it, affordability. What is the cost of data? I have got the network, but I don't have the means to connect. So you'd expect gadgets, your tablets, to come in, say, duty-free, so that you flood the market with connectivity, because we know we're going to tap into that.
Yes.
The rates, our data here is a nightmare, thanks to Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm.
I was paying almost $300 for my fiber connectivity.
And it's a lot.
To be able to
Can't
connect
afford that. Yeah.
It was almost my full salary at the time as a professor. I don't know who else could afford. The only reason I could afford as a lecturer is because I have other sources of income. But the coming in of Starlink brought that cost to $30, which means it's possible to significantly reduce. They started matching, to my surprise. They called me, my former service provider, saying, we've got a special to say, come back. Now you can pay us $89. I said, so if you are viable at $8 or $9, why were you charging me $300?
Mm-hmm.
Did we have to wait for Musk to say it can be done at $30? Which means there's something in our pricing regime that we need to look into as we look into this issue of access. I've already spoken to the youth themselves, the graduates themselves, in terms of what they need to pick up. Digital literacy is a must for everyone. Whether a stay home mom, you need to be literate. Whether a vendor or even a beggar, you need to up the game. Literacy is a non-negotiable for everyone. So it will be a tragedy and to have a graduate who is actually not digitally literate.
Yeah.
When it's a requirement for everyone to be literate. For graduates, I would go beyond literacy to say they need now to become fluent in basics of digital skills that are relevant to their calling or to their profession. That's a must for you to be able to function. We were talking earlier on about how relevant we can be to industry. If you don't have the basic skills, digital skills for your industry, industry cannot make use of you, no matter how smart you are with your grades. But for those who want to go an extra mile, your advanced digital skills is what will then separate. That's what will give you a premium on your earnings, whether you're doing stuff on your own, on the platforms, or you are working in a formal environment. Advanced digital skills will ensure that they separate you from your peers and give you an edge ahead of others. These are all possible online without going to a formal school. But you can do well to Google again online to say, which organizations are better equipped to work with me as I upskill or reskill myself in this area. So you call it ecosystem. Yes, it's very complex. There are too many players who have to play their part in there. Instead of pointing fingers, these individual constituents will do well to just focus on what they can do. But I've started with the government because they are the biggest enabler. When they push things in a certain direction, the markets are bound to follow suit and then create ultimately the environment that we need for sustainable skills development looking into the future.
Right. Thank you for that insight. Indeed, it is an ecosystem, and we all have a role and responsibility to play. And as HireMe Africa, one of part of our program is to develop the youth to be able to operate in a digital space. What digital tools are available? We encourage them to look at what technology is coming up in your industry. You can't just rely on what you've learned in the books. You have to also be a person that is curious, be a person that is looking at being the best at what they do. And you spoke about it, that look, grow your digital skills. Everything is available now online, right? It wasn't back in the day, 10 years, 20 years ago, where we relied on the books, we relied on encyclopedias to get the information that we need. Now your information is at your fingertips. You've got YouTube, you've got edtech platforms that are there that you can get a free certification in order for you to put yourself forward. And if they are the youth of Zimbabwe will feel, okay, Zimbabwe is in a certain way, or you can't really grow a career, you have to go the entrepreneur route. And you also say that, not everyone is called to be an entrepreneur. Some people genuinely just need the jobs. How do you, when you look at Zimbabwe, let's say in 5 years' time, what do you think are some of the emerging industries that the youth can, or that has the biggest potential of absorbing the youth into those sectors?
So looking into the future, again, very, very complicated because of the dynamism. But I know World Economic Forum did a very comprehensive study some 2 years back on the future of work. I can't quite remember the full title, but it's about the future of work, and they go to detail in terms of the skills, the professions that are there today, which in 5 years, 10 years will not be there, completely extinct. And then they give time frames, 5 years. You ask me about 5 years. 5 years in education and planning is a short horizon. If you start a new program, they will start after 5 years. By that time, you realize actually you didn't need that. Well, that skill is no longer needed. So they profile in there 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, all the way to 50 years from now. Trying to unpack what is there today, which will not be there in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. But the flip side is also what is not there today, which will be needed 5 years from now, 10 years from now. If you become the front runner, you gain the advantage of the first mover. In economics, call it first mover advantage. You anticipate a skills demand, you start preparing yourself. When the market demands it and everyone else is not ready, they'll pay you a premium before everyone else can jump onto the bandwagon. But as we speak, if I'm to answer that question in more generic terms, the future is digital, the present is digital. So look around things that are around the gig economy. Green energy is a big thing in face of climate change. 10, 15 years from now, no one wants to die. So anything that is green, whether it's green finance, it's green technology, as long as it is a green tech, tap into that is the future. Then you're talking about the cross-border profession, your call centers, skills that will be able to be offered from a distance virtually. Do we have a competitive advantage here? We still have good English here. If we combine good English with good connectivity, the call center industry has not been explored enough.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our boys and girls have the skills. If we connect them, they will offer their skills to the rest of the world. Very, very easily. Is it marketing, telemarketing? That's why I keep going back then to the issue of the enablers, your platforms that then allow the people to do that. So I would say the digital economy, the green economy, and anything that defies borders is the future. But I hasten to say a good work was done in that report. I wish I had the actual title with me. I'll send it through and you'll be able to share with viewers. But it will give you to the dot to tell you this one, face of economics will not be needed tomorrow. This one is not here today, but will be needed. Start preparing for them. So I would refer viewers to that report.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Chundu. And this is why, I mean, this discussion is very relevant and why we brought the work readiness program to Zimbabwe. And we are so grateful for ALMA for helping us in hosting this program where we are teaching the young people the work readiness skills that they need that will help them thrive in a digital economy, in the gig economy. We equip you with skills from your professional identity. We teach you how to be good in public speaking, in doing your presentations. Emotional intelligence, something that's needed in the workspace, especially when you are now looking at working with different cultures across different time zones. You need to understand emotional intelligence, the importance of emotional intelligence. We look at ethical leadership. And as you know, ALMA is very, invested in creating leaders of integrity, and Africa needs that. And we teach you on leadership. So this program is going to be starting in July, on the 4th of July, our work readiness program. You can get that information as well on ALMA's website. But before we even get to the program, we are going to have 2 masterclasses. The first one is coming up this Friday from 9 until 1 p.m. at the ALMA campus in Marlborough, where you will get to find out more about what's happening in the job sector, the opportunities that are there. And we also get to give you a snippet of what you would learn in our work readiness program. So this Friday, the 29th of May, we are having our first masterclass. And the second masterclass is going to be on the 12th of June as well. So ensure that you register. If you check on our social media platforms, you will get all that information there. On our YouTube page as HireMe Africa will also put the registration link there. So we hope to see you there in our masterclasses, to have these discussions live and get to know you as a job seeker, get to know you as a professional, and find out what your personal experiences have been. So thank you so much, Dr. Chundu, for joining us this afternoon, for giving us such valuable insights in what is happening in the Zimbabwe talent economy and how we can better position ourselves to be able to explore the gig economy globally. What would be your parting shots to those who are listening in, who are watching, and are wondering, is there really opportunity and hope to develop a career in Zimbabwe?
Thank you, Lauren, for having me here. And it was indeed a pleasure to share my perspective on this emotive issue. When you talk of employment, it's very emotional. After 4 years of investment and you realize you can't do anything. But all hope is not lost. We can pick ourselves up instead of looking up to some solution coming from somewhere and it's not coming. We are here. HireMe Africa is here. ALMA is here. We are here to journey with you as you find your feet. There is space for everyone in this gig economy. We'll help you find your feet. We'll help you develop those soft skills that you need to be able to become relevant in this market and have an edge ahead of your competitors. All hope is not lost. You are being unemployed in a very good environment where technology is there as a friend. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Chundu, and thank you for the people who joined us on today's webinar. Please share the live link and subscribe to our site, and we'll see you at the masterclass on Friday. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.